come to lying and going to rotate ankles and wrists. So that's just bringing in the circulation to the body. I'm lifting my hands up, but you don't have to. Circling the ankles one way. And then very gently changing position and circling the ankles in the other direction and circling the wrists too. And then come to relax. Extend both heels and breathing in, raise the arms. They can be bent at the elbows above you, stretching the arms out as little or as much as you would like. Breathing out, relax the arms back down alongside you and relax and release your feet. Engage your heels, extending both of them, toes up to the ceiling, and once more as you breathe in, stretch up above you. Your elbows can be bent, your chin might come down towards your chest, and then breathing out, lower your arms back down alongside you and release and relax out to the side, your legs. And then bend one knee and then the other knee, and then hug both knees into the chest and just very gently rock from side to side. And come to the center. Keeping your knees bent in towards you, open your arms out along the ground at shoulder height, ideally. Now, if that's too strong, then just lower your arms to perhaps a 45-degree angle, but wherever's comfortable, and palms down this time. Very gently rock both knees over to the right, lifting the left hip. You might touch your knees to the ground, you might not. And just very gently look up to the ceiling, or maybe even look to the left. Tummy in, bringing both knees back to the center, and very gently rock both knees over to the left. If this is too strong for the abdomen, you can always put your feet onto the ground, which lessens the rotational aspect. And then come back to the center. Hug the knees into the chest. Your hands can be palms down alongside you. And raise just one leg. I'm raising my right leg. Left knee is bent, and circle the right ankle in one direction and then the other direction. You'll feel the core very slightly engage, and then release the right foot and raise the left foot, circling the left ankle a few times in one direction. And then rotating the ankle a few times in the other direction. And then hugging the knees into the chest, come to happy baby. So that is holding underneath your feet. Now, yogically, you hold from the inside with your fingers to the outside, But if you're particularly stiff, you can always hold on the outside, which is a softer approach, and the knees go towards the shins. And just very gently rock from side to side. If for any reason that feels stiff, then you can always do a half happy baby. So you drop one foot to the floor and just focus on one side at a time. And then bend the knees and just hold the shins above the ankles so that both knees are out to the side, and you're in a form of supine cobblers. The big toes aren't necessarily touching together and the soles of the feet aren't touching together as they might be in a proper seated cobbler's pose, but it is opening up the inner groin. And just again, you can stay static or very gently, slightly wobble from side to side. And then still holding your shins, just do a slight, it's going almost back to a half happy baby, but it's not, it's just holding your shins, your knees are aiming to the ground. It's like a semi-squat, softer than happy baby. And then hugging the knees into the chest. Just circling the knees a few times in the same direction, going over the base of the spine, and then just circling a few times in the other direction, going over the base of the spine. Hug the knees into the chest, and still hold them, let them drift away from you to arm's length. Hugging the knees into the chest. Let them drift away to arm's length. And then hugging the knees into the chest, come to roll onto the side. In the right side is a softer approach if it's available to you, but if not, don't worry. And we're going to come to a seated position. Cross-legged seated position. Just place the hands on the knees, breathing in, lengthen the spine, and breathing out, rounding, the chin comes to the chest. Breathing in, sitting up, using your hands as support, and breathing out, rounding, chin to chest. And again, sitting up as you breathe in and rounding, chin to chest. And as we sit up, just place the hands to either side of you and just slide your left hand's fingers out to the left, raising your right arm bent at the elbow. And coming over, you can either come over a little bit, or if you actually even want to come onto your left elbow, that's fine too. Just a stretch on the right side. Tummy or lower abdomen in towards the spine. Perineum engages very slightly to support you as you press your left hand down and come back up to the centre. And then sliding the fingers of the right hand in a dome-like movement or shape to the right, raising your left elbow, chin in. Slide to where it's comfortable to you and feel that you're between your bodies, between two panes of glass. It's not twisting to the side. And tummy in. Perineum engages, press the fingers of the right hand down to support you to come up. Lift and roll your shoulders. Open your arms outwards And then hug, coming forward, and just rock from side to side. Chin is into the chest, calm for the nervous system, and you're stretching out the back, the shoulders. You can just slightly move from side to side. And as you breathe in, sit up, open your arms out again. And if you can remember which arm you did last time, then have the other arm on top as you hug yourself the other way round. Just crossing arms and then just coming forward. Self-love, compassion, and a very soft and gentle stretch. And then very gently unravel. And we're going to be coming onto our hands and knees for some very simple and very classic cat-cow movements. So cat-cow is warming the spine. It's restful for the body because the heart, in my understanding of limited anatomy, is that it's parallel to the ground. And so like an animal, it doesn't have so far to work or to pump the blood. So just very gently dipping your back, looking either up or along the mat, and that depends on how your neck's feeling, and breathing out, rounding chin to chest. Breathing in. We're going to do this a few times and do this to your own breath pattern. As you breathe in, you're dipping your back. You can feel your abdominal muscles stretch and rounding. So again, we're making the breath a fraction ahead of the movement. And so this then becomes a mindful movements as well as a spinal warmer, and it becomes a breath movement as well. You can initiate the rounding of the back from the tailbone, or you can imagine, which is more normal, or you can imagine someone just putting a magnet onto the centre of your back just to round you up. Again, it entirely depends on what works for you. And then, as you come back to neutral, tuck your toes underneath you, but still keep your hands on the ground and bring your bottom back so you're stretching out underneath your toes. That might be agony. So if it is, then just flatten your feet and come for a couple of breaths to kneel upwards. And the invitation is to feel your pulse, which you're going to be possibly much better at than me. Just to notice your pulse rate for a couple of breaths. Tuning into the life force. So in Ayurveda, there are different types of blood flow, and by holding the wrists like this, it's quite difficult. It's very complex, but you can pick up which dosha, that's your representation of elements, which dosha is more prevalent. And then very gently come to, they call it hare pose, or a form of puppy pose. So come to your elbows, come to have your head on the floor. You might want to bring your elbows in, and you might want to adjust your knees. And you can come to roll slightly up and down on the top of your head, but absolutely no pressure on your head. You can also move from side to side, just rolling across your forehead. But in any case, you're stretching out the tops of your, in between your shoulder blades. So the more you bring your bottom back and the more you stretch out, the more you're stretching into your back, but it's very much a freestyle. And then sliding your hands back, touching your toes, and then we're going to come to rolling up to standing. Come very gently as you roll up vertebra by vertebra, and come to standing. And then when you're up, lift and roll the shoulders. Breathing in, circle your hands upwards, hold your thumbs, and just very gently sway from side to side. So in Ayurveda movement, this connects to the Vata element and balancing the Vata element. And Vata is a predominance of air, and air is what gives pain when it's out of sequence. So this balances pain in a very simplistic way, and then just layering your hands. Bring your hands to your chest. Breathing in, circle your hands up, touching the palms together. Breathe out, bring the palms through the center of the body, bending your elbows and bending your knees. Touching your hands on the ground. Breathing in, lengthen your spine. If you prefer to hold your shins, that's fine too. Breathe out, soften your knees and soften your elbows. And then pressing your feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Raising your arms up, stretching your fingers, and lowering your hands. We're going to come to the top of the mat in some gentle but nevertheless classic salute to the suns. Inhale, exhale, hands together. Inhale, circle the arms up, and the choice is to either look straight ahead or up. Hands together, coming through the center of the body, past the heart, and bend your knees as your hands come to touch either side of your feet. Step your right foot back, stretching your right leg out, and lower your right knee to the ground. Stretch your left leg back. You're in tabletop. Breathing in, dipping your back, looking either up or along the mat, and breathing out, rounding your back. Chin comes to the chest as you tuck your toes and come into your downward dog. So your knees can remain bent, your feet can come slightly wider than hip width apart. And you can start to walk the dog by bending one knee and extending the other leg, and then bending the other knee and reversing that movement. Your hips can sway. A downward dog is an all over toner. It's an inversion. It's viewed to be a balancer of the hormonal or endocrine system. But I don't want to keep us in downward dog for too long. So come to bend both knees back down to the earth. Hands go to the left. Your right foot comes up. Hands either side of your right foot. Just let your right knee extend beyond the 90 degrees because you're supporting the weight of your body by your hands. But to come up, now bring your right knee back to that 90 degrees. Tuck your left toes under. Your tummy or lower abdomen is engaged slightly, about 10 to 20% of your capacity. Lift up your left knee and then step your left foot to your right. Hands on the shins, flat back as you breathe in, lengthening along the spine. Breathe out, bend your knees and bend your elbows. Breathing in, flat back. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, press your feet down. And you can use your fingers to trace your ascent as you come to standing. Breathing in, stretching your arms up. And then just lowering your hands back down alongside you. Lift and roll the shoulders and clasp your hands behind you. Aim the knuckles to the floor. And you'll find that this lifts your chests and opens your shoulders, stretching to give space for the lungs and stretching also for the heart, but very safely. Separate your hands and slide them down the backs of your legs to either side of your feet as you bend your knees. Step your left foot back, stretching the left foot, and bring your left knee to the ground. Slide your right foot back. You're in tabletop. Breathing in, dipping your back, looking either up or along the mat, and as you round your back, chin to chest, tuck your toes and come into your downward dog. Feeling free to adjust the feet. Walking the dog. The inside of your elbows kind of aim toward looking at one another. Just rotating your arms and the shoulder sockets. And then very gently bend both knees back down to the ground. Your hands come both to the right, and this gives space for your left foot to slide up, and your hands then go either side of your left foot. You can come beyond 90 degrees as an option, stretching into your hips. Bring your knee back to that 90 degrees, however, to tuck your tummy, engage your perineum slightly, 10 or 20%, to engage your core to support you as you tuck your right toes, lifting up your right knee and stepping your right foot to your left. Hands on the shins as you breathe in the half flat back. Breathing out, bend your knees, bend your elbows. And then pressing your feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And hands up to the ceiling, stretching the fingers. Lower your hands. And we'll do another round. Inhale, exhale, hands together at the heart center. Inhale, circle your hands, stretching up, palms together as you bring the hands through the center of your body, bending your knees and bending your elbows as you bring both hands to the floor, either side of your feet, stepping back your right foot, stretching the right leg back, right knee drops to the ground, left leg slides back, breathing in, dipping your back. Breathing out, rounding chin to chest, tuck your toes, and then coming to your downward dog. Have a sense of lengthening your spine as you bend your knees, and then stretch your legs. Your heels don't have to reach the ground. Walking the dog by bending one knee and then bending the other knee. And then bend both knees back down to the earth. Your hands go to the left. Your right foot comes up. Hands go either side of your right foot. And then if you brought your knee beyond the 90 degrees, bring it back, tucking your left toes, lifting your left knee, and stepping your left foot to your right foot, hands on the shins. Lengthening along the spine, half lift, Breathing out, bend your knees, bend your elbows. Press your feet into the ground and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing, raising the hands up, stretching your fingers, and lowering your arms. Lift and roll the shoulders and clasp the hands behind you, aiming the knuckles to the floor, opening out the shoulders. Separate the hands and slide the hands down the backs of your legs as you bend your knees, hands either side of your feet, and stepping back your left foot, stretching your left leg back. Left knee to the ground, and then sliding your right leg back to a tabletop. Dipping your back in, cat-cow, rounding your back, tucking your toes, and coming into your downward dog. Make any adjustments with your feet that you need to. Walk the dog by bending one knee and then bending the other knee. Stretching back. And then both knees to the ground. Hands go to the right, left foot comes up. Hands either side of your left foot, stretch forward if you need to. Come back to that 90-degree angle though with your left knee to tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee and step your right foot to your left foot, hands on the shins. Breathing in, lengthening along the spine in a half lift. Breathing out, bending your knees, bending your elbows. And then pressing your feet into the ground as you breathe in and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up. And then breathing out, lower your hands. Lift and roll the shoulders. Come to have your feet hip width apart and come to the very familiar swaying from side to side. Just releasing the energy that we've moved. Salute to the sun, or Surya Namaskar, in its various formats, and there aren't many, is really a very complete movement in its own right. Moving the back through really a number of directions that the back needs to be moved for optimal back health. And the back reflects all of us, of course, so I'm very keen on the back. And then just side to side. And then just lift and roll the shoulders. We're going to come to a warrior one. So stepping the left foot forward and adjusting your left foot out to the left as much as you need. This is very classic. Soften your left knee and drop your weight centrally. You have got the option on Warrior One of lifting your back right heel. It's up to you. It gives you more of a turn forward, but whatever works for you. Bring your hands to your waist and take a couple of breaths with a softened front left knee and the weight dropping centrally, not forward onto the left knee. And then just bring your hands to a cactus arm for a couple of breaths. And then according to how you feel, stretch your arms up. You can have your palms forwards or facing together. Go with what feels natural. And then breathing out, lower the arms and step the left foot back. Just sway slightly from side to side before we come to the other side. Stepping the right foot forward, making any adjustments out to the right that you need. Remembering that you can lift your back heel if that feels more comfortable for you. And softening your right knee, dropping your weight centrally,
If you're tall, you might want to have a slightly wider stance to accommodate your leg length. And just bring your hands onto the waist, so this is opening up the lungs. And take a couple of breaths. This, warriors, warrior 1, or Virabhadrasana 1 as this is known, is uplifting because you're lifting your chest. So it's uplifting for the mood, and it's classified in part as a back bend, even though it's a standing pose. And then your arms are in cactus arms. You can bring your elbows back because it opens again across the shoulders, which is again opening the lung area. But you have flexibility to open as little or as much as you would like. And then just stretching your hands up. You can look straight ahead. The classic warrior 1, they would really bend your right knee to a right angle and look up, which again is fine if that's okay for your neck. You bring your head upright if you can look backwards, and then lowering your hands, and then stepping back. And once more, just very gently swaying from side to side. And then stepping your feet out into an A frame. Slide your hands as you bend your knees down towards your feet. And then walk your right hand to your left, stretching the right side. Your left knee is bent. You can put your left hand on your waist and look up to the left. And you could raise your left arm up. Lower your left arm and walk both hands to the right. You'll find that your knees naturally bend. Your right hand can go onto your right waist. You can turn to look to the right, still with your chin slightly in. And optionally, you can raise your right hand. If you really want to make it stronger, you would straighten your legs, but you don't have to. You can always keep a bend in your right knee. Lower your right hand if you've lifted it up. Come to the centre with your hands and just sway your knees from side to side. Let your head relax down. And then do what I call heel toe your feet. So your toes come in, your heels go out, and then your heels come in. So that you're heel toeing your feet until they've come to a hip width apart. And then rolling up very gently, vertebra by vertebra, to standing, lifting and rolling the shoulders. Feet hip width apart. Circle the hands up, clasp, and reverse the hands upwards. And we'll just put in a little balance to lift the heels off the ground. And then lower the heels. Release the hands. And come to, for a short while, lying on our abdomens. So this lying on our abdomens, resting on our elbows, becomes Sphinx pose. And it is also a back bend and also uplifting for the mood. Here you can look down at the mat. And just take a couple of breaths. Wobble the bottom from side to side. There's an option to bring the left elbow out to the left. That will lower you a little bit.
almost to bring your head onto the back of your left hand, and bend your right leg. Your right knee might go out to the right, and optionally hold your right ankle. If that's too much to hold your right ankle, just raise your right leg. So you're beginning to pull on the quad muscles, and that is, as we covered, going to the immune system, well, where the thigh bone manufactures, in the marrow, it manufactures white blood cells, is my understanding. And then just release the right leg. And you might like to swap to the other side, bending the right elbow in and adjusting your left leg to catch hold of your left ankle. You might have to roll onto the right to get hold of it, and just, again, enjoy that stretch. If you're feeling particularly energetic, you can bend both knees and come into a bow. You might need to widen your knees for that, but this is optional. Holding both knees, and as you breathe in, lift up a little bit. You can rock, but then release the hold gently, lower your head to the ground, and come to bend your elbows, perhaps resting your head, your forehead on the backs of your hands, and just rock your feet gently from side to side. Lower your feet, bring your knees in. And we're going to come back to whichever version of child's pose works for you. You might like your big toes together and your knees slightly wider apart. Your bottom doesn't have to go down to your heels. There are many versions of child. This is extended child. You can have a bolster under your head. Your bottom can be lifted a little bit, which is coming more to puppy pose, but just a couple of breaths, relaxing into child's pose. And then very gently sliding your hands to kneel up. And either you can take your pulse again, or you can come to a seated position and just notice whether you've calmed down or how your system is. And then we're going to come to a much more classic sitting on our bottoms with the legs out in a V. You might feel you need to take the flesh out from under each bottom cheek. You can bounce your legs, and you can rub your legs or pat them. We've all got preferences, just to get a vibration moving in the body. And then bending up the right knee, aiming the right sole of the foot to the inside of the left leg. It doesn't have to touch, it's just a general direction. Extend your left heel. You can always take support underneath the right thigh. Hands either side of you. Turn slightly towards your extended left leg. Raise your hands, touch palms. I'm going to bend my elbows to come forward, but if you're very strong in your lower back, you can come just straight forward over your left shin and hold for a couple of breaths, not straining too much because we'll get another chance to come back again into something called Janushirasana, head to knee, which ticks a number of boxes. It's opening the right groin for your lower immune system. It's a forward bend for your nervous system. And it's a very slight rotation for realigning the muscles of the back. You can come up again if you want to, or just partially come up and come down again. You might find you go a little further next time. You might like to hold the outside of your left foot with your right hand, and your left hand goes behind you and you look left. But that's only if you can stretch to your extended foot. And then very, very gently come up. Just touch your hands to either side of you. Slide your right hand to the right, and just raise your left arm, looking upwards to your left thumb. And then lower your left arm. Bend both legs into a double V, one of the 5 perfect hip health poses. Ideally, your bottom should be connecting to the ground on the left, but mine isn't, so you can always put a cushion if you need to underneath the left buttock. And then turn towards your right knee as you just walk your hands forward. You can stay up, or if you feel comfortable, to come down and come down. It's a freestyle movement. Tummy in as you walk your hands back. Hands either side of you to support you as you bring your knees up and then back to opening your legs out in that V again. And come back to massaging or bouncing your legs. It's like dry skin brushing. And then extending the right heel, bring up the left leg. There is a yoga tradition that says, don't yank your leg in. Where it falls is good enough. But, whatever, just lengthen your body. Circle your hands up and turn to your right leg. Your right toes are up to the ceiling. If you're very strong on your core, tummy in and come straight over. I'm not, so I bend my elbows and slide down. Janu Sirsasana on the other side. Reminder that the chin to the chest activates the vagus nerve, which is anti-inflammatory and calming for the nervous system. And the chin to the chest activates something called the Jalandhara Bandha, which is an energy lock in the body. There are lots of gateways and energy locks in the body in Eastern philosophy. And then you might like to slightly come up or completely come up to try again. Second time, you often go down a little bit further. You might like to hold the outside of your right foot with your left hand and your right hand behind. That stretch you feel on your left side, if you do that, I think is quadratus lumborum, is it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, at the back, quadratus lumborum, yes, at the back it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that, and that can have all kinds of benefits, or it's a muscle that doesn't necessarily get stretched, but again, no pulling, just to feel good on that. And then just very gently slide your hands up, hands either side of you, and then slide your left hand out to the left and slightly behind you as you raise your right hand, looking at your right thumb. The view is to disconnect the mind from the stress centres of the brain, so this is a very easy way to do that. And then very gently lower the right arm. Bend up your right knee in a double V on the other side. Perfect hip health. If we watched television like this, apparently we'd be wonderfully healthy in our hips. Just lengthen the body and then turn towards the left knee
As you walk your hands, you can stay upright, or you can start to come down to your elbows or come right down. Again, your choice of a range of movement that you might choose to adopt here is absolutely and entirely up to you. Again, even here, the invitation is to slightly engage the tummy or lower abdominal muscles infractionally towards the spine, at the same time slightly engaging the perineum upwards to create that inner tone and support the core. So the two bandhas here are the Muladhara bandha and the Uddiyana bandha, which is the upward in and up energy. They're kind of major points in the body. Move your hands back to come very, very gently up. And then hands either side of you to have your legs stretched out in front of you this time. And again, this is a really classic yogic forward bend, raising the arms up. The same principles occur if you're weak in your core. I again reiterate, I'm not great. Then you would bend your elbows to come forwards. And if you're super strong, you would tummy in, perineum up, and you'd come straight forward, touching where you are able to. So if you're super long arms and flexible, you might hold the outsides of your feet. I'm not sure I can demonstrate this. You can put the back of one hand on the soles of the feet and hold it with the other hand. I can just about do that. But you can hold your big toes, thumbs on top. You can hold your ankles. The function of the pose is a forward bend, so it's stretching the back, it's calming for the nervous system. So how far you go down isn't really important. And although the invitation in yoga is to bend your knees, to have support under your knees, there is actually a benefit of having the legs connecting to the ground. So again, the chin comes into the chest, the back of the neck is long. It's all very, very calming to the nervous system. And then very gently slide the hands up. And again, the invitation is perhaps to take your pulse again and see from an anxiety point of view. I've had two people have heart monitors. One was super anxious. Actually, both of them have. And they've said that their heart monitor shows that it goes down. So we'll see. It's so calming.
At the moment.
Oh.
But I mean, I think it's because I'm exercising, so as I'm coming forward, I'm actually sort of making some muscular effort, so it's gone up slightly.
Okay. So then the invitation is to come, to bend your knees and to come to lying for a few breaths. You can either have your knees bent, or you could just come straight out into Shavasana. You can come in constructive rest of two if you want the knees to touch. And just now notice where the back of the head connects to the mat. And just very gently let the head turn from side to side, very much slow it down. It would be turning the head, coordinating with your breath, to give you an idea of just how slowly the head's moving. Your hands can be resting on the abdomen or alongside you, palms up is a classic relaxation pose, but whatever again works for you. Bring your head to the centre. Just have a sense of the sensation of the tingling as the blood moves around the feet. And just check that your feet are relaxed. Tops of the feet, soles of the feet, the toes, and the heels. Relaxing the shins and the calves, backs of the knees, fronts of the knees, the whole knee, and the thighs as they lie along the floor if they are stretched out, hips. Moving along the front of the body, just checking the body is open. Just slightly lift the chest away from the floor and just relax and release the chest back to the floor. Broadening and softening across the collarbones, along the arms, and all the way down to the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, hands, backs of the hands, palms, fingers, and the space beyond the fingers. Bring your attention to the base of the spine and follow the spine up to come to that point between the shoulder blades and up to the back of the neck, up further still to the back of the head, the ears and the space between the ears, moving across the top of the head and smoothing out the forehead, the eyebrows, relaxing the eyes and the sockets, across the temples and the cheekbones, and just coming down along the jawline, the ears again, and once more the space between the ears, along the jaw to the chin and the throat, and then moving gently up to the lower and upper lip. And then just settling below the base of the nostrils. And notice if the breath in cooler and the breath out is just fractionally warmer. And take a moment to have a thought for the day, a wish for the day. It can be for yourself or for anyone close to you. And in Sanskrit it's called a sankalpa. And you think the thought a couple of times, 3 times. And then you release that thought, safe in the knowledge that the intention has been received and set for the day ahead. And then you let that go. And then just very gently come to reconnect to where you are on the mat. Reconnect with that sense of where the back of the skull touches the mat. And then just very gently move to wherever you need to move, perhaps hugging the knees into the chest one last time, rocking maybe from side to side. And taking the time to roll onto your right side if that's available to you, if not, don't worry. Stretching your right arm, or whichever arm, the side that you come to lie on, upwards and rolling onto that outstretched arm. And just taking your time to let the body fluids adjust.
If you come onto your right side, then use your left hand to place on the floor, to press down, to support you as you come to sitting. And we're just going to come once more to a seated position. And come to connect to that energy as you, breathing in, turn your head to the left. Breathing out, turn your head to the right. Breathing in, head to the left. Breathing out, head to the right. Come back to the centre. And as you gently once more lower your chin to your chest, bring your hands to the heart, taking a bow for yourself for the day ahead. And thank you very much for joining me.